I have three boys and I have never punished any of them. Yet I have a strong authority in my house and my boys listen to me. In this video, I'm going to share 5 principles that will make your kids respect your authority without yelling, punishment, or power struggles, so you can finally get your kids to listen. My name is Afrada Mira. I'm a mom of 3 boys and a parenting coach. I'm passionate about integrating the tools and wisdom that I've learned on my own personal and spiritual journey into how I raise my kids. And that is what I love to share with you too. For generations, parenting was shaped by the authoritarian model, the classic do as I say approach, rooted in obedience, fear, and power. Many of us grew in homes where questioning a parent simply wasn't allowed. Strictness gave our parents a sense of strength, and children were expected to comply, not to converse. But as society evolved, something important happened. We started noticing the emotional cost of that model. We didn't want our kids to feel small, silenced, or scared in the way that so many of us did. So we swung away from the authoritarian parenting model, sometimes too far away. At the same time, culturally, something bigger has been happening: the slow crumbling of authority in general. People now question everything: schools, police, the state, experts, institutions that once felt reliable and unquestionable are now questioned. We question their motives, their competence, their integrity. Some of this questioning is healthy, but it also created a world where authority itself feels unstable. Naturally, the shift spilled into how we parent. We live in a time that celebrates equality, which is a beautiful value, but it also created the idea that parents and children are equal. Now, of course, parents and children are equal in their worth. They are equal in their dignity, absolutely. But parents and children are not equal in their power, in their authority, and in their decision making. Parents today want to be kind, they want to be respectful, they want to be gentle. They want to avoid the harshness that they grew up with. But in the process, many of us swing too far in the opposite direction that we become afraid of leading our kids. And that's where so many modern parenting challenges begin. We forgot that our kids need our calm leadership. They thrive when there is structure, boundaries, and guidance. You must believe deeply that you have a right to have authority in your home, not authoritarian, but authoritative, grounded, and wise. So how do we build that kind of leadership? The kind that helps kids listen without yelling. Let me share a few principles that I live by. My first principle is that consistency is your superpower. If you want to be consistent in your parenting, you have to have clarity of your values. You have to know what your personal and family values are. If you want help discovering your core family values, grab my free worksheet at efradamira.com/values. You will see the link in the show notes below. When you're clear on your values, every boundary becomes easier because you're simply acting in integrity with what your family stands for. For example, let's say health is one of your family values. Then your boundary makes sense. You limit sugar, you make sure they sleep early, you make sure they go outside to have fresh air and play freely, you make sure they move. These are not arbitrary rules. These are expressions of your values. And when your boundaries stem from your values, it becomes much more easier to be consistent, which means that your kids stop testing you constantly and start following you naturally. My second principle is that you have to use the word maybe to stay in your leadership. This one is surprisingly powerful. When your child asks something and you're not sure about what the right answer is, say maybe. Can I go to a friend's house today? Maybe. Let me see what's happening later. Can I have ice cream after dinner? Maybe. I'll see how bedtime's going and how the evening is flowing. Can I use my computer when we get home? Maybe. I have to check what responsibilities you still have. Maybe protects your consistency. Maybe protects your authority. Maybe gives you time to respond intentionally, because we want our children to know that when we say yes, we mean yes, and when we say no, we mean no. So we have to save those for when we are actually sure that we're gonna stay true to our word. So don't estimate the power of the word, maybe. The third principle is master your self-control. This one is the hardest one, but also the most transformational, because every time you yell, every time you lose your temper, every time you say something that you regret, you lose a bit of your authority and you damage the relationship with your kids. This is a little bit counterintuitive because we're used to imagining authority as strict, harsh, or punitive. But true power, the kind that your kids are going to trust and respect, comes from being calm, grounded, and measured. Here's what helps. When you feel triggered, don't say anything. Don't talk yet. Take a few deep breaths, drink some water, step outside if you can. Let your body settle for a minute. You can even say to your child, I don't want to say something I regret. I need a minute. I also have another video on the habits that I use that help me stay calmer and more grounded as a parent. You can find that in the description below as well. My fourth principle is follow through every single time. Your word has to mean something. If you say 1 hour of screen time, the screen goes off after 1 hour. If you say we're going to leave the party at 5, you leave the party at 5. If you say you don't get TV time before you finish your responsibilities, there is not going to be TV time before the responsibilities are done. You're not doing this sometimes, not when it's convenient, you're doing it always. This is how your kid learns that your word matters. This is how they learn to take you seriously. This is how they will listen without you having to yell, punish, bribe, threat, or use any other punitive measure. The fifth principle is that you have to believe that you have a right to be an authority figure in your house. As long as you don't believe that you have the right to be an authority, you won't act as an authority. If you want help with changing the mindset with being an authority figure in your house, I want you to check out my free resource where I break down the mindset that are stopping us from stepping up fully into the role of authority figures in our house. You can find that at fridamira.com/calmparent. I will also link that in the show notes below. When you step into your role as a firm, calm, consistent leader, your kids follow you naturally. You don't need to yell. You don't need to threat. You don't need bribes. You don't need punishment. You just need clear values, steady boundaries, and regulated leadership. Let me know in the comments which principle of these 5 principles you want to start working on today.